Hello and welcome to Let Loose episode 13. I'm your host, Peter Thomas Fornatale. Happy to be back with you for this Road to the Kentucky Derby Championship Series points race look ahead. We've got 4 of them on today's show, and I am very happy to be joined by a man coming to you, as usual, from the planet Texas. We call him the People's Champion. He's Jonathan Kinchen. JK, what's up, my friend?
You know, I got to be honest, Pete. This is about honesty here. I'm a little bit distracted right now because we're filming this using a technology that has still shots of our producers now. And all I can see is Dallas with this baseball bat. And I'm wondering, what did he bat? I mean, is he a 200 guy? Was he a 300 guy? How many home runs did he have? Did he strike out a lot? Did breaking balls, was that a problem for him? It's all I can think right now, but I am excited about some fun racing on Saturday.
With that batting stance that he has in that picture, JK, I don't know, but my scouting report would be let's go low and outside. But let's get back to business here. We've got the 3 100-point races for the boys coming up this Saturday. And really very pleased with the reintroduction of the show. It was great to hear from so many listeners via Twitter, especially. They can find you over at UT Big Hair. I'm at Looms Boldly. Let us know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? We'd love to keep the conversation going out in social media. Twitter seems to be a great way to do that when it comes to horse racing. Let's even we'll throw a little hashtag in there so some stuff is easier to find and we can address it either on future shows here or elsewhere on the In the Money Media Network. Just use that hashtag Let Loose to let us know your thoughts. And if you're ever in a position where you can't do the video of Let Loose and you need to stick with the audio, we're going to put that up over at In the Money Media as well, wherever you get your podcasts, or you can go to our website, inthemoneypodcast.com. I want to let folks know the special offer we have going. I love the fact that the offers we've had on Let Loose this season, they haven't just applied to new customers, they've applied to existing customers. That's the case this weekend for sure. Great opportunity for new and current account holders. The weekend Pick 4 Winsurance promotion. This week's Pick 4 Winsurance offer Saturday will be on Turfway Park's late Pick 4. Here's how it works. You don't go empty-handed. If your late Pick 4 does not hit, you can get a 25% refund on your losing tickets, up to $25 a day. Remember, you must opt in to benefit from this promotion. Visit the Twin Spires homepage under the offers tab. You can also find that via the Twin Spires app. JK, let's start talking racing this weekend. Of everything we've got going on, these 4 prep races, what are you looking forward to the most on Saturday?
Well, I'm looking forward to the Florida Derby, of course. It's such a prominent race, and leading up to the Kentucky Derby, we've got Greatest Honor. We've got, not Greatest Honor, excuse me. We've got, not Greatest Honor, I said Greatest Honor. No, it is Greatest Honor.
What are you talking? What's going on in the water there?
That came out. It came out where I felt like that wasn't the right name, but I think maybe it's because they spell honor a little bit differently. I felt confused. Greatest Honor, Collaborate. I'm excited about that race. Obviously, the winner of the Florida Derby has gone on to do extremely well in the Kentucky Derby. I don't know if it's spacing. I don't know if it's the program in South Florida leading up to that race, but whoever wins that race, with Life is Good now being out, I think will be in the conversation for favoritism, depending on how they do it. So I'm interested in that race, of course. And then, I think the Jeff Ruby Stakes, not only the favorite race I like to say, but I think it's interesting as well. You can't forget about Animal Kingdom and what he did in the races at Turfway. It wasn't the Jeff Ruby Stakes then, leading up to the Kentucky Derby when he won it, I think 16-1.
You have given me an idea, JK. You've shown your unfamiliarity with foreign concepts by being so completely thrown off by the very normal in the UK and elsewhere around the world of the U in the spelling of honor. So I'm thinking maybe rather than me host and you analyze the 2 foreign Derby points races this weekend, maybe we should turn the tables here. What do you think?
So you want me to host?
That's what I'm suggesting.
Oh, I mean, that's fine, but there's a couple parts of the deal. The first one is the Japanese race. I'm not going to try to pronounce it to look stupid. I'm going to pass it on to you. The second thing is I'm not doing it from the right. I want to go over there to that side if I'm going to host. Much better over here. I think I can do this job easier. It's tougher from the other side. In all seriousness, the UAE Derby is a very fun race, a race that's always very interesting, takes place kind of earlier in the morning to get you going for some of these other big races around the country. And then also at one point, it was the mile and 3/16 was, until the Louisiana Derby did that, was the longest race leading into the Kentucky Derby. And we also know how important it is to those connections in the UAE to try to get a Derby win. Unfortunately, there was the passing recently this week of Sheikh Hamdan, and unfortunately, he won't be able to be present for his favorite in Panadol. Pete, tell me a little bit about this European form. I know you've got your ears to the streets on the other side of the water. Who are we liking in this spot? Because I don't see the Americans making much noise.
I agree with you that the conversation should probably begin with Panadol. I agree with you that the USA contingent, not the strongest that it's been. This race has provided some really interesting runners over the years that have made some noise in the USA, if not in the Derby, with the Thunder Snow and Mendelssohn famously having pretty rotten goes of things on the first Saturday in May, but then both of them obviously achieving plenty of things later on. Panadol, to me, is the obvious one. This is form and figures that stand up pretty well against this group. My concern is simply going to be one of price, particularly in the tote pools. I think there's going to be a big narrative swelling around Panadol. Just watching the tape, I mean, this is clearly a good horse, but I don't necessarily see a whole lot between Panadol and some of the other runners in here. And with that in mind, I'm going to cautiously attempt to oppose Panadol in this spot. We're going to talk about the Japanese Derby prep in a minute or two here, but I did speak to some connections over there. I say connections, I don't mean horsemen, just people who follow the Japanese racing scene who have confirmed that the stronger runners of the Japanese contingent who might be making their way to these shores are running in the UAE Derby as opposed to staying home for the local prep. One who I'm interested to mention is the 4 France Go de Ina. This is one with a USA pedigree. The form looks interesting from that point of view. And Naomi Tucker, who is our colleague over at In the Money Media, who's in Dubai this week, has been very impressed with France Go de Ina in the mornings. One that I want to keep an eye on. And another I definitely want to mention, the 6 Muhib. This one was purchased in America. Won a grade 3 or a group 3 heading into this, has farm that's not too far behind the likes of the market leader, and I think is going to potentially be a multiple of the price. Also, just an interesting little USA connection with the trainer on this one, Nicolas Bachelard, who was a former assistant to Christophe Clement. So Muhib, definitely another in this race I would like to keep on side.
PTF, we talked a little bit about the Americans. Usually when they go over there and running dirt races, they have a big edge. The 2 Americans we send this year don't feel to necessarily have that edge. The first one, Ambivalent, obviously. Doug O'Neill, we saw what he can do with a mile and 3/16 race. We talked about his galloping style as a trainer. Ambivalent, does that one have a chance? And then the other one, Lugamo, is this just someone wanted a free flight on Emirates, or can this horse actually stretch out to the mile and 3/16?
I feel like the 2 USA runners are both well behind what it would typically take for a foreign raider to make an impact in this race. And they don't stack up for me. And I think they're going to attract a lot of market attention, particularly in these tote pools where we're going to be betting. So I feel like they're a safe fade. With the success we've seen with USA dirt runners around the world in other spots, would I be shocked if one of them stuffs me in a locker? No, but that's a chance I'm willing to take.
Well, let's head a little bit further east. And it sounds like from your earlier conversations, you had your ears to the street out there as well. Tell me a little bit about what's happening in Japan. And part of the deal was you're going to pronounce the name of this Derby.
Fukuryu. That's how I want to say it. I think that's right. And the Fukuryu Derby. And this race, it's a very interesting race if you like Japanese racing. There's a lot of different ways that you can go. It's a lot of connections that aren't necessarily known for international travel. Those interested in a deep dive on the JRA stuff, we're actually going to do a whole segment on the late week show. This is a race we're going to be covering. We'll look at some of the other stakes racing going on this card for those that want to really keep things going from super early in the morning on Saturday all the way through the wee small hours. You can bet it all on Twin Spires. I expect people to be getting up early and staying up late with us. But there were 2 that I thought were mentioning, and this isn't any inside info, but just like looking at the PPs and how these horses have been campaigned. 2, I feel like you've got an opportunity to maybe see in the US, probably not for the Kentucky Derby, but maybe at some point this season. Golden Hire, I thought was a little interesting. This is a Henny Hughes colt out of a Harbinger mare. And this horse has been running long and has a grindy style that I believe might be able to be well suited to a race like the Belmont. Now, gonna have to step up, gonna have to show probably some improved early fractions and some improved late figures to make a trip to the USA shores worth it. But Gold Hire is just one that I wanted to keep in mind a little bit. And then there's another one, a filly who's running. Now, we don't have final PPs for these, so I'm just going off nomination. So it is possible these will eventually be excluded. But just want to keep an eye on Judita, this Danone Legend filly out of a Gold Allure mare. This one's 2 for 2 in the career and just has done it in stylish fashion. It would take something pretty extraordinary in the next race to make the owners think about a spot like the Kentucky Oaks, let alone the Kentucky Derby. But this is an interesting runner. And if you're staying up late and betting on Saturday night, one that I'd want to have on my tickets.
Didn't you do a 24-hour marathon once
with Twin Spires back in the day, in the money media days, we did the betathon where I bet as many races as I could in a 24-hour period. I wish I could even remember how many it was. It was something like 870 races ended up betting, starting in, I think it was Musselburgh and ending somewhere down under, and even flattening out late with not a great run in Australia. We ended up turning a profit. It was a seriously fun day and a harbinger of things to come, as you know. Look how far we've got of working for twinspires.com all these years later too.
You call that a betathon. I call that a Saturday. Look, I'm comfortable over here. I'm going to stay here, but I've had enough of this hosting business. I'm going to give it back to you.
Okay, fair enough, JK. You did a fine job. That was good. Now that I know that you've got that club in your bag, I might just not show up for certain shows and we'll get you rocking and rolling. Let's talk about the first of our 2 USA prep races. It's the Jeff Ruby Stakes. This is the first time, actually, this race is going to be worth 100 points. We've got a field of 12 going. Winner's share is a cool $250,000. And the top 4 from the Battaglia, the prep for this, up here. We've got some horses coming in from Florida. Who do you think is going to win the day, JK, in the Jeff Ruby Stakes?
Yeah, who do I like in the Jeff Ruby Stakes? I'll take a ribeye, medium rare, Caesar salad first. Do you have French fries? Can I have some ketchup? If the ketchup's for the fries, not for the steak, I wouldn't do that.
I was going to say a Texas man. They might excommunicate.
Yeah. No, I don't do that. I like St. Hood. I like St. Hood for a couple of reasons. One, it's Todd Pletcher. He knows how to get horses into the starting gate of the Kentucky Derby. There was once upon a time a legend that he couldn't win it. He's proven that wrong on a couple of times now. I like St. Hood. I think St. Hood's interesting for a couple of reasons. The pedigree there just screams, I'm going to run good on a synthetic surface. This horse has run well on the dirt. The dad, Mishawish, he ran on dirt and turf. And then the Lemon Drop Kid mare suggests maybe a little turf in there. Seems like a nice mixture of I'm going to run good on a synthetic surface. Horse is tactical. Horse is training well. And there was no one that was exiting the prep that really got me going. And those horses are going to get played off of recency. And I thought this horse offered a little bit of value for Todd Pletcher.
I think it's interesting, and you make a good point on pedigree. Looking at the time form US ratings, routing is rated higher on synthetic than on dirt or on turf. The one from the prep that I like is the number 1, Like the King, and I like the fact that hopefully this one will be able to save ground here. What I liked about Like the King in the prep was this is the one that I felt like attacked that fast pace. I feel like the winner, Hush of a Storm, had the perfect setup. I feel like the 3rd place finisher, Gretzky the Great, who I also think is live in here, but I think there's plenty of speed in here. In addition to, St. Hood, you absolutely take a shot. This is a horse, knowing how Todd Pletcher horses run, could also just end up sitting and pouncing, but there's enough speed that I want to take one. I feel really confident, can save ground, stalk and pounce. And that for me is Like the King, but definitely some interesting ways to go. And of course, this race is part of that promotion that we talked about before. You can get that 25% back in your pick 4 bet. That sounds like an option that you'd probably want to be taking advantage of, JK, if only you lived in a state that was civilized enough to allow twinspires.com.
If I can bet and someone's going to give me my money back, I'm in. I like that. I will say this. Gretzky the Great, I thought last time, I felt like kind of had things his way there. He was out there, he was on the lead, and he gave it away. That was a concern for me. And I will say this as well. These shows, this race, the Jeff Ruby Stakes, and the next race we're going to talk about, the Florida Derby, will be on America's Day at the Races this weekend. So make sure you check that out.
Very, very good point. One other thing about Gretzky and like the King, I feel like both are eligible to improve in their second starts off the layoff, potentially. Another reason I'll have those numbers on my tickets, but I definitely like your clever idea of the long shot sainthood 12-1 on the morning line in that race as well. Okay, it's time for the main event. JK, you alluded to the successful form that the Florida Derby has produced in the past, with Derby winners and first across the posts like Barbaro, Big Brown, or Nyquist, always dreaming maximum security. It's definitely a key prep, maybe the key prep. We've got 100 points on the line. Greatest Honor, the biggest name in this bunch. But then there's also horses who've been chatted about along this Derby trail, like Spielberg, Known Agenda, and Papa 2. Who do you think is going to get the victory?
Well, I was fortunate enough to be at Gulfstream for Fountain of Youth Day, and Greatest Honor and Collaborate both ran on the same day. And I needed both horses in separate wagers. And I know how Collaborate made me feel around the 3/8 pole, the middle of the turn. And I remember how Greatest Honor made me feel at the 3/8 pole. And one of them made me feel a lot better, and that was Collaborate. He was in hand. He was controlling. He was obviously facing a much lesser group, but I feel like there's upside there with him. He's got speed. He's tactical. He's been running fast numbers. And I think there's an improvement there to be found. The thing about Greatest Honor is he's the most likely winner. He does have the best resume. He's a horse I'm very interested in moving forward in the Kentucky Derby. But my problem with him is that he didn't do it all that easy last time. He was in trouble early, and he has one of those styles that asks, please, please, please get me in trouble. And at short prices, when there's viable options that are faster and more forward, I'm always going to go to the faster, more forward. So for this race, or Kentucky Derby.
You and I are reading each other's mail in this spot. And for me, it's as simple as the old cliche, but cliche because it's true. Pace makes the race. Feels like Collaborate has a chance to really command things on the front end. While I'd like to see Greatest Honor ridden a little bit more aggressively like he was two back than sort of the, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, passive approach that was taken last time. Knowing Greatest Honor, it's really just a prep for him with what he's accomplished at this point. I don't think they're going to be too worried about having to win the Florida Derby. I think Connections would be just as happy with a hard charging second where he's in front a length after the wire. I like your idea with Collaborate in this spot, JK, and we're together. For any pick bets, I certainly wouldn't cut off my nose to spite my face. I'd want Greatest Honor. I want to see him run a nice race and hopefully earn a little bit better of a figure than last time. They'll set him up for a perfect shot when it comes to the Kentucky Derby. I do like him on the first Saturday in May, but we're together on this one. All right, JK, we've got a couple more things we got to do here. Going to come back to you for your play of the day on Saturday. But before we get to that, let's talk again about this cool offer code promotion for existing customers we mentioned before. Fantastic opportunity with this Pick 4 Winsurance. This week's Pick 4 Winsurance offer Saturday will be on Turfway Park's Late Pick 4. We talked about the Jeff Ruby Stakes. There's other graded stakes involved as well. And with this promotional offer that you have to opt into, you will not go home empty-handed. If your Late Pick 4 doesn't hit, you get a 25% refund on losing tickets up to $25 per day. You know, assuming if you're at a $100 bankroll level, you're talking significant refund right there. But do remember, you have to opt in to benefit from this promotion. Visit the Twin Spires homepage under the offers tab. JK, let's talk about your play for Saturday. What's it going to be?
It's going to be the Florida Derby, and it's going to be Collaborate. I feel like Greatest Honor is going to take a lot of money because of the name recognition, because of what winning the Fountain of Youth. It's Shug. There's a lot of reasons why Greatest Honor is going to be favored. And I think for that reason, I think there's some value to be had on Collaborate. So I'm going to go with Collaborate, and then especially like in the multi-race bets, not the pick 6, or there'll be a mandatory payout that day. I won't be that brave there. But in like pick 5s and pick 4s, I would single a horse like Collaborate and use Greatest Honor as a single B. So as a saver, as protection, the idea that you mentioned, don't cut off your nose to spite your face, but at the same time, still trying to create some value and create some equity in a wager.
I'm going to use the same horses. I'm going to take a different approach, though, and look to the verticals, where I really like the idea of a collaborate all greatest honor trifecta, with the idea that he's going to come running late, but maybe be a little bit too far back. Again, I expect shortly after the wire, he'll be in front, but I think that might be a fun approach. I'll do it to another degree to have the exacta with those two. Probably go ahead and box it just with the idea of recouping a little bit of money with collaborate and greatest honor. But the bet I will be looking the best should it come in as a collaborate all greatest honor try. We're just about out of time. JK, closing thought before we wrap this edition of Let Loose?
I like it over here. This works. It makes sense.
You stay in your correct box next time. I don't know what you're doing to me, moving me here and there. I've got vertigo after the show, JK. But I thank you very much for your time. We'll thank our friends from Twin Spires as well, especially for betting on content. So much fun to do the shows with them. We'll thank the listeners and viewers one more time, especially those of you who've reached out. Go ahead, use that hashtag Let Loose and keep the conversation going on Twitter. Until the next time, may you win all your photos.